Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos, and I'm a life coach, relationship coach, and breakup coach. You can change the language of this podcast in the YouTube video settings. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing This is Boring, but Gets Your Ex Back. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Subscribe to my weekly support emails. The link is in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing This is Boring, but Gets Your Ex Back. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you likely think that strategies are always elaborate, all singing and all dancing. But not always though. In today's podcast, I'm discussing the boring way to get your ex back in 3 elements. Yes, they are boring, but together the 3 elements are very effective, so I suggest you listen through. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is commit to a bedtime. Yes, this is boring, okay? I can't reiterate it enough, but I also can't reiterate enough how important each of these 3 elements are and how combined they can really get your ex back. And point number 1 is committing to a bedtime. Now let me know in the comments what time you go to bed. Let me know in the comments and let's see what the community thinks. And yes, I'm sure you've heard before, quite possibly from my own podcast, about the power of good sleep. You know, it helps you in a cognitive way, it helps you in a physical sense, but there are also other elements at play as for why committing to a bedtime can really help you eventually get your ex back. Now, something which I've not spoke about often in my podcast is the importance of structure. And structure is absolutely vital when getting through a breakup situation. Now, one of the reasons why getting into a structured bedtime pattern can be particularly helpful going through a breakup is because it gives you that structure. You know, the clue is in the terminology. A structured bedtime gives you structure. And this can be really, really important when you are going through a breakup, because firstly, the structure of your life has been shaken to its core. Everything that you once did is unfortunately being turned upside down. I mean, for instance, if you lived with your ex and now all of a sudden they're not with you, I mean, it could hardly be any more different. Now, even if you didn't actually live with your now ex, well, you're still going to be feeling the differences in your pattern, in your routine, because of course, you are sadly no longer seeing each other, and you are also not likely to be communicating. Now, I say not likely because unless there is a real good reason for you to be communicating, you shouldn't be. And hence I suggest you as a dumpee implement my version of the no contact rule, which is in most instances you should never contact your ex again unless they contact you first. Now this presents challenges which, unless you have gone through the grind, you just could never understand. It is very hard to explain to someone who has never had to go through no contact what exactly it is like and how hard it actually is. And this is where the structure of a committed bedtime can really help you. So let's consider the fact that your life has been turned upside down and now you are almost stretching and looking around for guidance in how you do this and how you do that and what you do here and what you do there. You have so much time all of a sudden on your hands. You are naturally going to be thinking about your ex. The worst time I've found people think about their ex is at night. Now, of course, it can happen at any time, but nighttime seems particularly difficult. So if you get into a committed bedtime, this can make sure that you are not staying up too late during the hours where you are more likely to be ruminating on your breakup and thinking about your ex. If you think about them too much and too often, not only is it going to put you in a real sad mindset, but it also increases the chance of you breaking no contact. And there is the link. You need to maintain my version of a no contact rule to give yourself the best possible chance of success. You are much more likely to break no contact if you're overthinking about your ex. And when are you most likely to be overthinking about your ex? At night. During those hours where you could be doing much better things, i.e. sleeping. Because as mentioned earlier in today's podcast, and we haven't really dwelled on it today, but I have in many other podcasts, sleep is so important for our mental and physical well-being. It can be the difference between whether you succeed at your job or whether you get fired. You could get sacked for not having your mind on your job, and if you're not getting enough sleep, that is a surefire way for you to make mistakes. In a physical sense, it can really lead to troubling difficulties, including excessive weight gain. If you are overtired, you are much more likely to comfort eat, for instance. Those are just some of the reasons as for why getting enough sleep is really, really important. And we haven't even touched on the fact that sleep is where our body repairs itself. If you want to look your best to try and get your ex back, well, you need to be making sure that you've got enough sleep. People who don't have enough sleep can be seen a mile off. We all know it. You bump into someone and you just know they've had no sleep. Okay? So getting enough sleep, absolutely vital. But what we haven't really focused on too much previously is the importance of that structure, giving you something to focus on when your routine has been destroyed. When you no longer have a routine, you can create one by at least knowing at the same time every night you will be going to bed, with the byproduct being that you're not going to stay beyond those hours where your mindset unfortunately drifts into negative territory. Because if you stay up too long, that is when you're much more likely to think of your ex, much more likely to break no contact, and also much more likely, unfortunately, to not get your ex back due to those behaviours. So if we do the opposite and make sure that we are not thinking about our ex too much during those nighttime hours, because instead you are asleep, you are therefore increasing the chance of getting your ex back because you're much more able to maintain my version of the no contact rule. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like and hype this video. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is digital detox. And today we're speaking about boring ways to get your ex back. Yes, this is boring, but it's going to increase the chance of getting your ex back. And a digital detox can sound really, really boring because so many of us live a lot of our time online. And even if you don't think that you particularly spend too much time online, I'm pretty sure you still spend more time than you think. If you were to therefore try a digital detox, you would absolutely notice how much time you are online. Now, you have to use your common sense. There are going to be times where you need to go online, no doubt, for work, or maybe for some type of safety or security reason. Obviously, make sure you are still doing these things, but what I am suggesting in particular is that you cut out the social media, certainly for now. We don't want any doom scrolling because we want to try and avoid anything that's going to make you want to reach out to your ex. As we said in point number 1, staying up too late can make you want to reach out, but also if you're scrolling social media, you're much more likely to see something, watch something, read something that makes you want to break no contact. That isn't good, and hence you are removing that possibility by going on a digital detox. But that is not the only reason why I'm suggesting you do this. There are other benefits as well. Firstly, if you are not showcasing yourself online, then your ex-dumper will start to miss your presence. Now, even if you don't follow each other, whether you are friends of friends, whether your ex just tried to have a sneaky peek about what you're up to, they're going to think, wait a minute, my dumpee seems to have vanished. Why is this? What's going on? And you might think, well, why would they want to check up on me? They dumped me. But listen, I've spoke to many dumpers who have told me that they will get to a point where they are likely to want to have a little look to see what you're up to. And if you're not doing anything that they can tell or see, they will actually start to wonder about you and potentially even miss you. This is created by the mystery of them not realizing what you are doing. Now, there are other social media strategies I've spoke about in the past where I suggest that you live your life to the full and post what you are doing. Now, it's not that I'm suggesting one concept is better than the other, but today we are speaking about boring ways to get your ex back. And this is something which can be very effective, but is also boring because you are not going online. You're not doing the things that you no doubt like to do. Now, yes, I'm suggesting that you could fall into a trap by seeing the socials and not feel so good, but I'm suggesting that you don't do anything online and therefore you create additional time. Now, you removing that from your life is going to present a moment where you're thinking, well, what do I do with myself? I'm already not with my ex. I'm already losing out on other things that I used to do. Now you're saying I can't go online? What can I do instead? Well, here is the next part of point number 2's boring suggestion. And that is, I suggest you go to a library. Now, some of you listening might be thinking, I really like libraries. They're not boring. But I'm sure a lot of you would consider a library to be a fairly boring proposition in compared to doing whatever you used to do online. Anyway, you can argue about that in the comments. That's up to you guys. But I suggest that you go to a library. Now, when you're in the library, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to be reading books, of course. You're going to be doing it the old-fashioned way. You're going to be going old school, and you're going to be learning and improving your knowledge. It doesn't matter what subject. What does matter, though, is that you are using quality time to actually learn important things. Of course, you could have done that online, but you're not allowed to during this digital detox. Other byproducts of you spending time in the library is you are much more likely to start making new connections. Now, even though you can't really talk in a library, libraries often have groups and things and activities which are going on. And if you start to go even slightly regularly, you will get to know new people, quite possibly people that you would never have met in other instances. So that can be a really good byproduct to start rebuilding a new social circle, and who knows, you might meet someone even better than your ex. It also ties in to creating that new structure that we spoke about in point number 1, because sadly you have lost it due to your breakup. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. This is the best and diamond level of support that I can provide. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is practice responding to your ex. Yes, this is boring, we get the point, but listen, it's very, very important. Practicing and responding to your ex could be crucial in getting your ex back. Now, you don't want to be dwelling on this too much, because if you do, you will be falling into the trap that we are trying to avoid in overthinking about your ex. But I do think it can be important to strategize in how you might respond to your ex one day reaching out to you. Because I've often found that dumpers may only reach out the once, maybe the twice, but you're not likely to get a constant stream of messages, comments, or whatever from your ex per dumper. And hence, sometimes you only get one chance at a second chance. If your ex reaches out, we need to make sure you respond and grow the conversation in the best way possible. Now, the unique specifics to your situation, of course, I wouldn't know unless we were to speak via my audio coaching service, but in a generalized sense, what I would suggest is that you practice responding to what your ex-dumper could theoretically send to you. And although we don't know for certain, they would likely fall into certain stereotypical categories. One category is that they want some type of answer from you. Maybe they accused you of doing something, maybe that's why they ended the relationship, and now they want to know why you did it, or perhaps whether you did it. Maybe you are innocent, maybe you are guilty. Whatever the reason or the way, you might be asked why you did this, or did you do that. You need to be making sure that you have a good answer, an answer which is going to explain, take responsibility, take accountability, but also showcase if you need to apologize, then apologize, and also how and why it will never happen again. That is something that you can absolutely be practicing on in thinking about if your ex was to send you such a comment. A second possibility is that your ex-dumper might reach out and say something such as, "Hi, how are you?" Now that really fits in with today's podcast because it's really, really boring, but it's also quite common. Now, if you receive a message such as that, I would, in general, suggest that you almost mirror it. I would suggest that you ask that question back to them, but of course, you've got to answer it yourself. How have you been? I would suggest that you would say something along the lines of, "Well, I've had better months," or whatever. You can't totally remove the fact that you're going through a breakup, but also you want to add something positive. So you might say, "Well, it's been a difficult few months, but," and then you need to be saying something positive that you've been doing. Again, this is where you can be practicing about what exactly it is you would decide to put. If your ex reaches out to you, yes, you don't want to be responding instantly, but you also can't be waiting a long time. You need to be responding, I would suggest, within a few hours. If you wait a few days, it looks like you're game playing. Nowadays, everybody might respond within the same day most of the time. So you can't be waiting around for too long, and hence getting this down about what you want to say is absolutely crucial. So your ex might reach out trying to wonder why you did or didn't do something. They also might just ask how you're doing. And the third possibility, of course, there is endless possibilities, but let's just keep it to 3 right now, is that your ex-dumper might ask about somebody else in your life. Now, this is often just a way to try and speak with you, but for instance, they might reach out and say, "Hey, how's your dad?" Or, "Hey, how's our friend? I haven't heard from them in a while." Or they might be trying to put something out there where they're using it as an excuse to talk to you. Now, if you receive such a question or comment, I do suggest that you keep it on point and you actually reply to what they are saying, but trying to make sure that you give the information whilst at the same time keeping a positive tone. It can be very easy to really turn what they are saying and asking and making it into a negative. You don't want to be bringing the conversation down. Whatever they are asking, try and keep it upbeat. Try and be positive. Don't act as if your ex-dumper has wronged you and you feel awful about speaking. You don't really want to chat. If you speak in a negative way, they are not going to want to reply to you any further. Don't kill the conversation dead. Make sure you respond and ask a question in turn. Keep it flowing, but don't mention breakups, dating, or relationships within your questions or dialogue unless they specifically ask.